Hello and welcome to the webinar. We are excited to have you here as part of our Pathlock Innovation Series. Our presentation right now is on Pathlock Cloud, the future of unified application access lifecycle management. My name is Stephanie Anderson. I'm the Global Webinar Manager here at Pathlock. Carrie Curry will be our speaker today. She's the Vice President of Product Management of Pathlock Cloud at Pathlock, and she'll introduce herself in just a moment.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, a little bit about myself. So thank you everyone for joining today. It's really great to have you join us for some more information on Pathlock Cloud. My name is Carrie Curry. I'm the Vice President, as Stephanie mentioned, of Product Management, specifically for our Pathlock Cloud product. I've previously had roles in advisory services, IT security and audit, service delivery, and as a security analyst. I've spent about 15 years in the ERP space. I was a customer as well of Pathlock, of one of Pathlock's products, and I'm a certified information system auditor. So I'm really really happy to join you here today and be able to give you a great preview and some little deep dives on things of our Pathlock Cloud product. So let's jump into it. So firstly, Pathlock helps over 1,300 customers worldwide automate their application access governance processes by providing a comprehensive suite to reduce risk, automate controls, and reduce fraud. Our approach is to offer a complete platform to automate the most challenging aspects of access governance, risk and compliance controls for your business applications. Our suite includes solutions for application access governance, continuous controls monitoring, and cybersecurity application controls. Here's a few examples of why customers seek Pathlock to help them. 75% of controls are still manually tested, despite a number of tools and service providers in use at any given time within an organization. This manual approach has many companies seeking an alternative that we can help them realize. Meanwhile, 49% of companies in regulated industries are reporting material weaknesses that severely hamper their future business activities. With so much at stake and so much manual effort currently in effect, audit costs continue to grow every year. And human capital costs continue to rise for both full-time employees as well as external audit consultants. Pathlock customers are reducing costs and risks by up to 80% by automating their controls testing and audit processes with us. Our goal is to automate the repeatable, so your audit team's time and effort are strategically focused for your business needs. Let's take a look at Pathlock Cloud. As mentioned, our approach is to offer a complete 360-degree platform addressing your application GRC needs. The Pathlock platform is comprised of 3 purpose-built suites. Application Access Governance, which covers the foundational aspects of access risk analysis, access design, provisioning, and certifications, as well as elevated access management, some of you may know it as PAM as well. Continuous controls monitoring, which builds on your defined access governance processes and provides change management monitoring, risk quantification, and continuous configuration monitoring for your entire application and transaction landscape. Cybersecurity application controls that IT general controls ensures that IT general controls surrounding vulnerability management, threat detection, and code scanning are constantly and consistently being enforced. It also includes features like dynamic data masking, which further organizations' goals for restricting and monitoring sensitive data. Now let's take a look at Pathlock Cloud's capabilities. I'm going to share with you a number of screens from our product, and we'll be able to get a little bit of a look at and look and feel of the platform. So Pathlock Cloud offers multi-system support. Multi-system support means the ability to integrate Pathlock Cloud into a single system, but also into multiple systems from different vendors or multiple applications from the same vendor, such as PeopleSoft HCM or PeopleSoft Financials. That's a great example of where you have multiple applications for a single vendor. This provides the single pane of glass view that many security professionals want. It also provides the ability to analyze seasonally attached systems that may be offline for risk analysis or audit preparation. So we can consume data from maybe a homegrown system, for example, and take that into Pathlock Cloud, and you can do a certification, user access review, for example. So we can look at some of those ancillary systems that may be within your audit scope. Let's take a look at Pathlock's risk dashboard. Pathlock's risk dashboard provides real-time data that effectively and quickly provides a look at an organization's risk surface. It enables risk owners, such as controllers or an internal audit, to understand the risk profile for and across business applications at any point in time. Our risk dashboard contains key risk indicators, such as current violations by control type, highest executed risks, and even a risk history timeline. Our risk dashboard framework allows for building custom dashboards, providing a view of what's most important to you. So you can build your custom dashboards and publish them to your organization. All of this means that you can take action faster, identify trends, and gain insights that will ensure you have a pulse on compliance within your organization. Our risk dashboard allows for effective and consistent communication across the organization, which fosters a risk-based culture. It's better informed decisions faster. Let's take a look at our Access Risk Analysis module, which is part of our Application Access Governance suite. With our Access Risk Analysis module, risk owners can prioritize how they plan to work through violation results. This is where categorization of violations is key. A controller may want to review violations by severity, choosing to address those of high severity first, or they may want to review by compliance policies the organization is regulated by. So I think you can see on the screen there, SOX, NIST, etc. GDPR, for example, so you can get a look at by compliance framework where you can filter. Not all risk owners will review violations and exceptions in the same way, depending on priorities of their departments or even just personal preferences. Our platform contains violations that are categorized by things such as severity, business process, risk framework, and scope. The scope refers to whether it's cross-system or single system, making it easier to cater to different risk owners without having to create customized screens or customized reports. Risk owners can view what's most important to them and are better able to form a remediation strategy that focuses on their more at-risk and most critical violations first, for example. Categorization puts you in control of your violation data. Pathlock also provides preset, easily customizable, and dynamic segregation of duties risks for leading business applications, which ensures quick time to value for the organization. Risks are vetted by application security experts and certified auditors to ensure compliance. They are published with important rule attributes, such as business impact, severity, the related business processes, and even remediation recommendations or best practices. Whether your organization is just beginning your journey to compliance and you might need a starting point, or if you have existing risks or rule sets, but you want to ensure accuracy and completeness, our out-of-box content will reduce significant manual effort. So not only does our content expedite the selection of an appropriate compliant risk set, It also allows risk owners to expedite the acceptance of the risk and facilitates an informed remediation decision. So because you're able to see the additional information, the content, remediation best practices, if there's any sensitive access contained within it, these are elements that you can add. We have them as out-of-box in our out-of-box risk sets, but they're also, if you bring your own risk set, you can add that information into the risk. And it really helps when you have risk owners that want to review and understand more about what their options are for remediation. Let's talk about two elements of risk design. When it comes to cross-application segregation of duties violations, Pathlock Cloud allows you to view and analyze violations across cloud and on-premise business applications in your landscape. So there's no more single-threaded sort of remediation efforts that often end up in a vicious cycle that negatively impacts the business. So you may be looking solely at violations within one system, electing to take away access, but they actually need it because at the secondary system, they're completing one process. They need two systems for one process. This allows you to see sort of the effects, the access, and therefore the effects of taking away access in two systems across different systems. Equally as important is granularity in risk design, which refers to the level of detail or precision within the risk. The granularity of the risk can impact the accuracy and usefulness of the results. So the greater the granularity, the deeper the level of detail. Granularity is the single most effective capability when it comes to removing false positive results. This reduces the number of audit records generated, so risk owners no longer have to sift through violation results that are inaccurate or a high volume of violation results. This allows the business as well to continue to do business. So the more specific you're able to make the design of the risk, is it a button? Is it an exit? Is it a specific Fiori tile that I'm interested in? The more granular I can get in the design of the risk means that I can still allow people to access the application. I can still allow them to add, but perhaps the button restricts the approval or the exit restricts the approval. So it really allows the business to continue to do business, to continue to allow them access, because I'm very specific in what I need to look for, the related action that I'm looking for within a specific screen. So it allows users to retain the majority of access, and only specific parts of that access would need to be addressed. Now let's talk about risk exceptions. So when reviewing violations, a common question that a business owner, controller, risk reviewer may have is, has this access been used? This form of actionable intelligence is more effective than risk owners have traditionally been able to view. So with Pathlock Cloud, you'll be able to see not only that the person that you're reviewing, the person that's in violation, has the access to both sides of a risk statement, you'll be able to see whether they have actually used that access, which we call an exception. I've used it, it's an exception. One of Pathlock's differentiators when it comes to segregation of duties is our ability to provide this usage-based data. Pathlock allows risk owners to review the offending access and, by extension, review if that access has been used. Reviewers can then determine if the access has been used and is still required. They can select an appropriate mitigating control from within the screen. If the access has not been used, they can request removal. So whether it's removing the entirety of the role or removing specific parts of like specific objects or T codes, which will reduce or resolve the conflicting access. Some really powerful insights in terms of making that remediation or mitigation decision and being able to understand if somebody's actually used the access and to what percentage they've used it and when. Now let's take a look at Pathlock's capabilities when it comes to certifications. Certifications are contained within what we call a campaign. A campaign is an organized course of action to achieve a goal. We offer built-in dashboards and analytics that provide valuable insights as the campaign progresses. So if you think of a campaign as really like a traditional user access review. So you can open a campaign to say, I'm going to do a user access review for Q1 for SAP, for example. So you'd open and initiate the campaign, give it an end date, and you're able to see the progress. You're able to see the percentage of risk, people that are have risky access or have violate SOD if they're doing an SOD review. So you see the risk score. You can also see sort of the owner, the status of it, etc. And then there's additional insights in terms of how many reviewers still have outstanding folks to review, things like that when you click inside of the actual campaign. Not only can our certification module be utilized for common user access reviews, as I mentioned, it can also be used for segregation of duties reviews. Two other sort of things is around segregation of duties reviews. You can facilitate a campaign around that. I'll talk about that more in a moment. You can also facilitate a campaign around reviewing your mitigations. So sometimes people don't often sort of set and forget or leave their mitigations open-ended. But here you're able to facilitate, whether that be once a quarter or biannually, going through a review of mitigations and electing to extend those mitigations and ensuring that they're still appropriate or still needed. In our access analysis example, so I think you can see here on the screen, let me just see here, so it's third party, here we go, so violations and mitigations. It is a selection of data sets that can be scheduled for risk owners to perform a formal review of those people that have violations. So formalizing the review of violations in a campaign type concept, a certification type concept, enforces a standardized, repetitive process that expedites remediation. So you're tracking it. Remember those analytics that we show related to progress, how many is outstanding for each owner or reviewer. It holds risk and control owners accountable to reviewing data in a specific time period, leading to increased compliance. So access risk analysis or segregation of duties campaigns can be run on different frequencies based on different requirements, such as maybe a monthly SOD review for high risk accounts, a quarterly review for generic service or those integration accounts, maybe a biannual review for employees of a specific business unit or for specific roles perhaps. There's many different elements that you can choose from, whether you're creating a traditional user access review or you're creating a review for violations or mitigations. The capabilities also allow for customization of things like email notifications, comprehensive review instructions, which you can see on the top screen here, granular cross-system authorization information. You're able to approve and reject within the platform. And you can also customize a standard list of rejections to choose from. Pathlock Cloud's campaigns are fueled by something called automated workflows that I'll take a little bit of a moment here to talk about, because along with being able to select various data elements in terms of grouping together who you're going to certify, what's powered, the other element of what's really powerful here is the workflows that you can associate with these campaigns. Workflows are step-by-step instructions for the execution of a process and include visuals such as flow charts for ease of review or conversion into documentation. So it's the flow. I'm going to review it, I'm going to reject it, and then what action do I want to take after that? Pathlock's workflow capabilities allow for extensive customization in terms of how you want the flow of a rejection and or an approval as well, what you want that the process to look like. They are built to serve your business from simple approvals. People may have a one-step approval, a two-step approval, for example, to very complex decision criteria. Our workflow engine expedites any task. We offer things like ready-to-use workflow steps, so you can take advantage of many pre-built workflows to incorporate human and system interactions. So for example, I can have a rejection and I'd like you to automatically remove the role from the user, lock the role, remove it, set an expiry date for an example. It's easy data mapping and design. It has a built-in rules engine, and it's very robust in terms of its functionality. So we're really talking about the ability, what ancillary actions that you want to happen as a result of a rejection and being able to automate that. You can automate and do a secondary approval, for example. It's very flexible. The powerful workflow engine provides you with thousands of possible automation steps to plan and execute compliance processes, all without coding. So it's flexible in terms of being able to add different parameters and fit the business process that you want to follow. Now let's take a look at some of our continuous controls monitoring. So up until now, we've had a little bit of a look at our application access governance sort of suite, where it's around SOD, the access risk analysis, a little bit of campaign certifications there. Now let's take a little bit of a look at our continuous controls modules and talk about risk quantification as the first one. So understanding if access has been used is critical when making a remediation decision. However, the ability to quantify that usage is what makes Pathlock Cloud really stand out. So not only are you able to understand the access on the two sides of the risk statement, for example, and see if they've used the access, we can quantify of that access what they've used. Risk quantification empowers risk owners by giving them concrete numbers by which to base their remediation prioritization and mitigation selections. It saves them time, helps them make sense of the data, and facilitates accurate decision making. Armed with this knowledge, they can make informed decisions on how much risk they're willing to tolerate within their organization. Along with the ability to view quantified risks comes advanced capabilities to create campaigns. So we just talked about the campaign concept when we're talking about user access reviews, but one of the things that you can do is create campaigns around looking at these exceptions and their quantification. So you can formalize the review of quantified exceptions, which increases accountability and therefore increases compliance. We also offer the ability to, we have alerting and notifications. So you can receive an email alert, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of slides coming up here. With risk quantification, risk owners transform from being caretakers of security options viewed as like slowing down or hurting a business. So if I revoke access without knowing if it's used and without knowing how extensively it is used or to what dollar amount, it allows risk owners to really become a partner in choosing the appropriate decisions, because now I can understand the access, I can understand how frequently you've used it, and again, to what extent you're using it in any given time. The process promotes collaboration and cohesion among all parties by using concrete factual data. So you're not guessing, did they use it and how often they've used it. Additionally, risk owners better understand the potential for things like reputational damage, regulatory liability, and business disruption of their security decisions. As part of our continuous controls monitoring suite of products, we offer something called process control management. Our process control management capabilities are about automation. So we're automating, mitigating, and compensating controls. It ensures the control maintains a high level of standards by watching for inconsistencies, abnormalities, and other flaws that might affect how that process is executed. So right now, if you have a risk, a two-sided SOD risk, many people will say there's a mitigating, compensating control. So I'm running a report once a month. I'm running a report once a quarter and reconciling that information. That report is often something that is run by either memory from a controller or an accounting supervisor. Now what you can do using our process control management capabilities is bring the scheduling of that and the on-screen review of that information inside of Pathlock Cloud. Where the connection happens is as you're reviewing SOD violations, you can choose from this list of controls that are automated when you're choosing a mitigation. So association of process control to a mitigation decision, especially if automated, delivers a high degree of consistency. It minimizes human error, increases productivity, and most importantly, it reduces risk. We offer the following execution options. So I think you can see these sort of across the screen here. And that is around a manual review. So I can say, yes, I went and checked something, and it's going to alert me that I have a manual review to do. I have to make a decision, and it gets recorded inside of the platform. We have a manual review including action confirmation. So again, I have to record the action and say, yes, I've done something, or yes, I've rectified the situation. But we've also, our more popular sort of choices are around incorporating workflows. So we talked about workflows being that automated business process action. We have the ability to review a filtered report as an attachment. So send me a report daily, quarterly, weekly, and again, you can see sort of those up here. Send me a report as an attachment, and I may have to go in and say, yes, I reviewed this. You can elect to do send you a report and do an in-system review. So it's an in-system review from a workflow, which is not the report. It's actually on screen reviewing that information. And then you can go to a very detailed level where it's an on-screen review of a report, and every single row has to have confirmation against it. So for example, reviewing users granted the system administration role. I'm picking a very simplistic example here, of course. But if I want to be notified daily if a system administration role was granted, I can opt to include the users in a report attached to an email and have that sent to me. I can have the reviewer go inside of Pathlock Cloud and review the data and say, yes, I've reviewed it and everything looks okay. Or you can tell me for all 5 users that have been granted the system in role on a specific given day that I need to confirm and have an action against each one of them. So as you can see, there's some examples here on screen in terms of how people are using the process controls management module. It's very powerful in itself, but it's incredibly powerful when you pair it with being able to associate this control within your mitigation decision as a result of SOD violations. So, finally, Pathlock Cloud offers comprehensive change monitoring, which is an incredibly important part of our platform. As risk definitions change, for example, so if I have a T code that was added to a risk, or more importantly, maybe a T code or an object was removed from a risk, our Pathlock Cloud collects the information related to the change, including who executed the change, the date, the time, the before and after values. So we offer change monitoring across almost every element of Pathlock Cloud. So whether you got granted access to Pathlock Cloud, got granted access to one of our your connected applications, whether you've changed a risk definition, whether you've modified a mitigation, extended it, everything is tracked in terms of the change type, who it was changed by, the date. We can categorize these as well, so you can bucket them by categories, the fields, the old and new values, etc. So it's very powerful in terms of that. You can also pair with this is alerting and notifications to specific owners, either by category, etc. So if a risk definition has changed, I can be alerted to that change and be able to view the specifics and the information related to it. One of the more popular sort of examples of usage in here is when you need to report on your risks and if the definitions have changed from the prior audit period. So as I'm making T-code adjustments, I'm adding a new risk, I might be adding a couple of new risks, adding some custom objects to risks. It's all captured here, and you can do by date range and produce a report that says, here are all the changes that have happened from the last time we've extracted our rule set, our risk rule set. All right, so that gives you a look at two of our suites around application access governance and then continuous controls monitoring. A couple of wrap-up slides here, and we'll see if anybody has any questions. Pathlock is trusted not only by some of the biggest names in multiple industries, but also by US government, state and local government, and also higher education. Pathlock's position in the access controls market is validated by analysts, including Coppinger-Cole, who place Pathlock next to SAP for overall leader in their access control tools for SAP environments. And more importantly, we're ranked very high. Pathlock is the overall leader by a wide margin in its access control tools for multi-vendor line of business environments, which more closely aligns with customers' real-world environments. So more likely you're in a multi-vendor line of business situation. You may have a couple of, one major ERP, you might have a couple of the major ERPs and a lot of ancillary applications that are facilitating integrations in and out. Just a quick look here, a very high-level diagram in terms of our connectivity and how the app, the data flows between Pathlock Cloud and your on-premise applications. So we have Pathlock Cloud, we have a Pathlock agent, it's an encrypted channel that can go back and forth between your on-prem applications. So we're pulling data from your application, whether that's ABS, Oracle Cloud, JD Edwards, SAP, Ariba. We're pulling data in an encrypted channel through a Pathlock Cloud agent, which delivers the results to Pathlock Cloud. And if you notice, the arrows are going back and forth. So as you make decisions in your certifications, as those campaigns, you reject, you remove access, etc., that it will, again, lock, remove, expire, etc., add access if you'd like as well. So we do on-prem apps, and we also do cloud apps as well, and all of that information is pushed to Pathlock Cloud. All right, and finally here, when it comes to access control, there's sort of three critical questions. Who has access to what? Is it being used appropriately? And what does the access secure? So Pathlock Cloud has a wide portfolio of features. I've just mentioned a very brief summary of them here to help answer these questions. Everything from analysis of access risks prior to provisioning, that's a big one in terms of keeping secure. The rule sets that align to risk compliance frameworks, risk-based certifications as well, and elevated access management with automated deprovisioning. These and many others help to keep your organization safe. So with that, I'll stop and see, Stephanie, if there's any questions related to anything that we've seen here today.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, if you have any questions, please put them now into the questions box. I see a couple hands raised. So if you do have a question, just type it into the questions box and we would be happy to answer those. Our first question is, how would you rate your organization's current level of integration between identity and access management, IAM, and governance, risk, and compliance, GRC?
We do integrate to, if I understand the question correctly, so if we're integration of Pathlock Cloud to identity access providers or identity management providers, we actually rate very, very high in terms of being able to integrate there. One of the key pieces of integration or in terms of value is that we provide that fine-grain analysis. So we can go much more granular in terms of the SOD checking, whether that's in provisioning, specifically more in provisioning. But yes, we do rank very high in terms of integrating with the identity providers and being able to provide the very fine-grained analysis that's needed for accurate decision-making. It's a great question. It's a really great question.
I don't see any other questions right now, but oh wait, hold on, we just had one come in.
They're typing.
How does Pathlock Cloud determine the financial impact of the risk?
How does it determine the financial impact of the risk? So what we're doing in terms of if it's related to like quantifying the risk quantification, so it really is, we're taking the dollar amounts of the transactions from the source systems. So it is truly like if in the source system, if you've transacted, if you created accounts payable item perhaps, it is the dollar amount of the transaction that has occurred. So that's how we are quantifying the risks. And if I haven't quite nailed the answer on that, let me know, keep typing. But it's coming from the source system in terms of like that actual value of what you've transacted against or how you've used it. So that's what we're bringing in terms of quantifying the risk. You can score it. There's several areas in Pathlock Cloud, and that risk scoring, whether something is high, whether it has a risk score of 77%, I think maybe you've seen one of that in one of the screenshots. That risk score and levels, those are things that you can set yourself as indicators to people, but the actual dollar amount is coming from the source or target system.
Okay, great. Yep, and they said that answers it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, if you have any more questions, please email us at info@pathlock.com and we would be really happy to answer any of those. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you so much, especially to all those that participated in this innovation series.